everybody. Welcome back to the show. It's so good to have you here. And welcome back, Leigh Quintana, my friend who I love spending time with. I'm so glad you could come back on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. You guys might remember Leigh was on the show not that long ago, and she's a very successful real estate entrepreneur, single mom, doing all the things to create a big life for herself and her family. And we just got back not too long ago, about a month ago, I think, from an amazing experience. We attended a women's retreat in Cabo with Go Abundance Women. So shout out to our new friends that we met on the retreat. And special thanks to the co-founders, Kelly Resendez and Mandy McAllister. So I just want to jump in, Leigh, because I know when we were on the retreat, we had talked about a lot of things, but wanting to do another episode of Mojo to really share with people, I think, the experience of making connections. So talk to everybody a little bit about what it was like for you to meet these women from all over the country and what you took away from the retreat.
Mind blowing. I mean, first of all, what a beautiful retreat they put together. I mean,
Right?
they thought of every detail. They put us in a beautiful location, and they really brought together a group of women who were super authentic. And I've been on a lot of retreats and a lot of business, this and that. And that group of women is powerful. And they were really handpicked to be in that room. And we were so lucky to be there.
Yeah, I feel that way too. I do too. And, you said something interesting that you've gone on lots of retreats, and I have too. For me, it's a normal practice to invest in myself. It's a normal practice to find places that I can connect with other women, especially, or just other entrepreneurs in general, and things that will help me grow and learn. And it was funny because I was telling a few people about the experience. And if you weren't there, it's hard to really get it. But there were several people that really were surprised that I do this so much. So I just want to talk a little bit about that because I get it. Everyone has different schedules and different means.
Responsibilities. Yeah.
Yeah, responsibilities, finances, but there's really something to be said for balancing out your life and your work and your business with taking that time to invest in yourself. And you do that a lot.
It's an investment in education. Knowledge itself is its own wealth, right? And we hit a ceiling at some point where if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You've got to switch rooms. And sometimes it takes getting out of your area, out of the comfort of the people you already know, out of what you're used to grow. And I think we watched growth happen in that room. I felt growth in that room.
I grew.
You totally grew.
I know you did too. Like you had some moments where you were, if it's okay if I share, like you were even overcome emotionally at times.
Yeah.
What was happening for you in that room?
Gosh, like to dissect this could take a long time, but when you enter a space, and I really specifically think with other women where you feel safe, heard, understood, authentic, you can let a lot of things down. No one there was there to be performative.
Right.
And I find that to be like that, like for me is everything, because I really think people are missing a lot of genuine connections in life because they have these walls up. They have to be performative. In my profession, everything's performative.
It is, right?
It's so discouraging these days because you just want to have authentic connections. It's just like a Keller Williams, like win-win, right? Like when we're authentic, I really always feel like there's a win-win. So being in a room full of extremely powerful women who are just there to support each other and educate each other and connect with each other and genuinely connect with each other was overwhelming. That's the kind of thing we need so much more of in this world, especially right now.
I agree because, that was the other thing too. It wasn't a networking event, even though we made connections. And I think for both of us, we made a couple of connections that are, I'll just speak for myself. I connected with someone in the room who's got me speaking for her organization already and has introduced me to several people. And that was amazing and not what I went for. It wasn't the goal. And that was really just kind of the bonus or the cherry on top. But it was really about the connection. And it was really about who's in the room, who could we learn from, who could we maybe also give some support to or share our wisdom with. And it was funny. I've talked about this before too. I don't know, what were there about 60 people in the
Yes.
group?
Yep.
And I think I only got to talk to probably less than really 5 to 7 people, really, like, really talk to. And that was okay with me, even though I would have loved to have connected and learned more about everyone in the room. You realize sometimes I've gone to events where I felt like I had to work the room and I had to collect all the business cards and I had to make sure everyone got mine. And I don't even know if I gave anyone a business card, honestly, but it was really about if I could connect with 5 people, it felt great.
That's a genuine connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
And so I think, when we talk about networking versus connections, those are two very different things. Maybe they're in a similar path, right? So meeting new people, making sure people know who you are and what you do. But when you're networking, you kind of leave it at that. When you're finding connections with other people, again, it's about authenticity. And so I think every woman in that room that we ended up connecting with, or even that spoke, had a very powerful story. And sometimes that resonates with you so deeply that you're like, I need to know this person. I want to hear more. I'm curious.
Yeah.
And that's where genuine connections come from, a place of curiosity with two people who really want to get to know each other. What makes you tick? Why are you successful? What were your downfalls? What happened? How'd you overcome that? And that room specifically, those women were so willing to share that type of information where I think a lot of people these days, again, it's performative. It's like, I'm the best. I'm the best. We're not always the best. We're not always at our best. Right. And so
Yes.
it's really helpful when you
And
have
there
people
were
who
some
connect
vulnerable moments. People are
very
sharing
vulnerable.
some vulnerable things. But
Yes.
even though it wasn't, I agree with you, it was not performative, but
Yeah.
it was purposeful.
Purposeful.
And
Yeah.
I think this particular organization is very purposeful about attracting women who do want to make the connections, but also create connections for a purpose or be resources to each other or perhaps even business partners or whatever may come of it.
A lot of
So,
women in that room were business partners. And
yeah,
beyond that, they have a really fine tuned mission, right? And their mission and what they donate to and the causes that they donate to are really important to them. I learned so much. I learned so much when they brought up sex trafficking and what type of industry it was and how much money like goes in and out of that business. I was floored. These were
yeah,
things I didn't know. And then, it's so interesting to be in a room of like tech people and wellness people and entrepreneurs and real estate people and authors and speakers and the list was endless.
yeah, it was diverse for sure. And
It
I think
really
that's
was.
another, so for anyone listening, I think the message here is you got to get outside of your zip code.
And
Definitely have
that's
to get
really
outside of your
fantastic.
comfort zone, but you got to
And,
get outside your zip code and meet people from different industries.
and yeah, get outside of your profession. I mean, this is
Yeah.
not a single lane highway here. Like what can you learn from somebody else? How can you incorporate that into your life? What kind of business can you do with these people? I mean, again, we're entrepreneurs. So having all sorts of different businesses and good ideas, you have the right people, you can bring those things to life. And it's really like what they say, if you surround yourself with 5 people, 6, you're the 6th person. If you
Yes.
surround yourself with 5 good people or 5 high earning people, you're that 6th person.
Yeah.
But you have to be in the right room and know the right people to do that. And that means getting out of your comfort zone, getting out of your zip code, getting out of your industry.
Yeah. And sometimes you just have to spend a little money on it. Like you have to invest in yourself for the growth because even if, you're not getting a business connection or an opportunity per se, like we talked about a few minutes ago, the growth. So now, like a month later or whatever it's been, maybe almost 6 weeks later, when you think about it, what did you get out of it? Like, is there one tangible thing? I know you said you learned a lot, and they definitely talked about things that related to business, personal, health. philanthropy, as you know, you just talked about. But what do you think Leigh Quintana got out of it?
For me personally, just because of the season of my life right now, it was really inspiring to hear most of these women had some moment of downfall, right? Where they had to start over. And I think a lot of times when we get knocked in life, you can either quit, you can go like, I can't handle this. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm on the floor. Or you can take that momentum of being down and turn it into something else. And I really felt in that room specifically that every woman had one major life challenge, divorce, death, losing a child, whatever it was,
Yeah.
that was a defining moment for them. One woman had been in a major car accident, had brain surgery, right? She owns this huge successful business now. She had to
Yeah.
learn how to walk again and
Yeah.
speak again.
Yeah.
But she's a multimillionaire. So these are the things that were inspiring to me because, of course, like, again, we all go through these seasons of life where we've got to pick ourselves up or not
Hmm.
and keep going and create something new or better or redefine ourselves out of that. And I felt like every woman in that room that was hyper successful had a similar story. So that for me was really inspiring. Like, great, you can keep going and you can be even better than you ever were.
Totally. I think for me, I really, in particular with this group, I know that even though I didn't get to really talk one to one with everyone in the group, if I were to call any one of them right now, they would say, "How can I help?
Absolutely.
What do you need?" And,
Absolutely.
that to me is invaluable. That's another thing that I realized too. You have to take the time to just come out of the grind and come out of the hustle. And because otherwise you're moving so fast, you don't have an opportunity for connection or for knowledge. And I think, I found now a whole network of women that want to help each other. And I found that to be amazing.
Amazing. And, Anna, the truth is post COVID work life balance,
It's hard.
it's hard because
Well, I think
it's
something changed for a lot of us after COVID too, that, we learned that we could work differently, right? We're working from home, a lot of us or remotely, and we've learned how to leverage technology. And there's a lot of great things that came from that. But I think we started to really minimize our time in front of other people and our ability to connect. And I know just in conversations I've had with professionals over the last several years, people are a little like, "Ugh, I don't know if I want to really go to that event because then I got to be around a lot of people." And I'm thinking, oh, no, we're
yes,
missing opportunity for connection.
it's really true. I think once we entered this digital space of we can work just like this, just like we're on camera right now, right? We don't have to be sitting together to
Right.
have this interview, right? We can do this from any place in the world.
Yeah.
But
Although I'd love to be sitting on your deck right now. It looks beautiful.
love this place. But, what it's done is it's taken away some of that connection, the
Yeah.
physical connection, because it's true. How many hugs, how many handholds, how much pat on the back or empathy, physical empathy were you giving or receiving when you were with these women?
A lot.
It makes a big difference. We
It
need
does.
that in life. We're human beings. We need physical connection. And like you said, a lot of people maybe don't know how to invest in themselves. I think it's really important to do the research, put it on your calendar and save for it. If it's not in your budget right now, then give yourself a goal
Yeah.
because
I mean, maybe it's not a trip to Cabo,
maybe it's
right?
not,
But
but
maybe it's attending a local
event.
mixer or workshop. Because I also think that when we talk about connection, what comes from the connection, it could be an opportunity for business. It could be a business partnership. It could be information. It could be finding your next mentor or
It's
friend.
the Anna Gibbs question. Who do you know that I need to know? You can go have a cup of coffee with them. That's the Anna Gibbs. But that's how I find all my good people. I'm like, who do you know that I need to know?
I do say that, right? Who do
Yeah,
you know that I need to know?
that's
But
exactly it.
yeah, because I know I built a career on being naturally curious about people. And of course, being in a people business for my entire career, I've been a leader and I've led teams or built teams, recruiting and helping people with their goals, coaching. It is always about the connection. But I think that when you can also tap into your network about who they know, it starts to really be that ripple effect. And I've been able to connect with people I may never have found on my own if it wasn't for someone already in my network.
It's true. And it's as simple as, who do you know that I need to know, and scheduling a coffee date with that person if you can't go on a retreat. But again,
Yeah.
it's about getting outside of just what the limiting people that you know.
Yeah.
You got to get outside of that.
Why is personal development so important to you?
If we're not working on ourselves and personal development, then we're going in the opposite direction. Because it's very easy to just settle in and say, this is my life. And life is short overall. If you think about, I'm 42 years old. I'm like, how the hell am I 42 years old already? I was just 20.
Almost 55, but I get it.
I mean, where did it go? Right. And I was lucky. I had my children young. So I spent many years raising my children and having this really beautiful gift. And then I started a career and started a team and part owner of a brokerage. And I just kept growing. And without that, you become stagnant.
Yeah.
And I think that leads to a lot of health problems, mental health problems, money problems. You've got to keep moving forward, because at the end of the day, I love when I sit like with an older couple and they have stories. I
Oh,
love their
yeah.
stories. You can't have stories if you're sitting on your couch, not personally developing or getting outside or doing something else. You just can't. So it's,
Yeah. I
personal
agree.
development it just has to be.
Something else we talked about in one of our conversations, I think that also inspired us to say we should get on the podcast again together, was the whole concept, and really not being apologetic about it, the whole concept of women supporting women and women professionals seeking out other women professionals, and not to create this elitist group, but really because we can support each other in a way that only we can, and we understand elements of what we're trying to do. And let's face it, women are wired differently. Women have different responsibilities. And so I want to talk a little bit about that, because that was another thing that I was purposeful about in telling you about the Go Abundance Women's Retreat. I wanted to experience it with someone else. And so why is it important for you to find yourself in groups with other women?
Well, I'm a girl's girl by nature. I
Yeah.
I really believe in women lifting other women up and being a driving force behind women's success. It's just like you said, we're wired differently and we have different responsibilities. And this
Yeah.
is not to say that women who don't have children are any different, because women are women are women. But a lot of times it comes down to, I'm a wife, I'm a mother, I am an entrepreneur, or I'm in a career, I'm going through menopause or perimenopause. We have all these different things happening with our bodies. And like, that's the conversation I'm having a lot right now, right? Is with women in my age group, we're like, we can't sleep, we can't eat, my knee is broken, I don't know what's, but you need other women who are going through the same things as you or have been through similar situations to bounce that stuff off of, to get help. I just connected to people this morning for that reason. Like, I need help with perimenopause. I need to talk to somebody. Here's this person, talk to this person. Which doctor we need each other for a lot of that stuff. But beyond that, in business or in entrepreneurship, like, we come across different challenges than men.
Totally.
And you need
So success was different too.
is totally different. And so it's a blessing to have other women and say, I feel like I'm failing. I don't know I don't know why I didn't get that promotion. I don't, what is it? Right. And talk these things out with other women who have maybe been through similar situations, or they're just hearing you from a different perspective
Yeah.
than maybe a man. And that's not to say men are useless or anything else or not good mentors, because you can have both. But there is something very special and specific about women who want to grow other women. It shows. It just shows in them.
Yeah. And I think too, like the whole concept around contribution and connection and collaboration versus competition, because there's enough competition in the world. There's enough competition in real estate. You're in real estate. There's enough competition in business in general. And I think that something really powerful can come from that honest connection and that willingness to want to help someone succeed versus compete. And I think that sometimes as women, we have a lot of pressure. We have a lot of things that are speaking to us all the time in our environment. So, as we just talked about, I'm older, a little older than you. And I started in business at 18. And right out of high school, I started working in a pharmaceutical company in sales. And it was a different world back then. And I learned a lot of rules about business. I say rules. And I learned how to show up in a very male dominated environment. And really, that hustle grind culture was popular then. And it was the way women were, moving forward. And it had a lot of this, I would say, aggressive energy. And so when you are taught early on in your career that you have to compete, sometimes you would just forget about the other options available to you, even as you get older and more experienced and wiser. And so then we start competing with everyone around us. And sometimes as women, we have to take a step back and say, now, what if I didn't always want to necessarily compete with that person or that other woman? What if I wanted to learn from her? What if I didn't feel intimidated in her presence and I just asked her, how did she get there? Because the truth is, none of us got here easily. None of us got
Mhm.
luckily, right? And so I know it's, I think I've watched women exhale when I've talked about this. So when that person walks in a room and they look polished and confident and assertive and successful, great, give them that credit and maybe be curious about what's under the hood a little bit because it could be a lot of different things that you and some things that you might want to learn about. And
I was thinking about this when you sent me, some of the questions, and I'm like, mentorship is so important. And
yeah,
so, and people are like, maybe you see someone who's polished and successful, but that's intimidating to you. You got
right.
to flip that script and blatantly say, I want to know, how did you get here? What was it like?
Yeah, what could you teach me?
What can you teach me? And that's how you grow. We all grow with mentorship, right? You're not, it's like going to college. Like, okay, you go to college and you do all the reading and all the writing, you go to all the lessons, and that's how you learn how to be an architect or a lawyer or whatever. When you're an entrepreneur, it's different. You're not going to school, and you might go to business school, but it's totally different, right?
Yeah.
You have to look in our fields and being an entrepreneur for somebody that you want to be like.
What does mentorship mean to you?
So for me, it's really, and I'm a mentor myself, right, to my team and to other agents not in my brokerage, just like some of my mentors were not agents in my brokerage. They
Mm,
were people that I looked to for things I didn't know or I didn't understand, but I wasn't afraid to ask,
yes.
because what's worse than asking is being completely wrong, right? Giving information or really screwing something up because you didn't have the knowledge and you were too afraid to ask, that's a double whammy. So I'd rather pick, and I've been doing this a long time. I still pick up the phone sometimes and call another broker, and say, do I have this right? Or can you shed some light on something for
I
me?
was going to ask you,
Yeah.
maybe I was trying to think how to frame the question. Who's been a great mentor to you or what you've learned from mentors in your career?
I've had several great mentors, and profession, my profession, is 63% women.
Wow.
So for the most part, I'm calling the women anyway because we're
So you're not
63.
afraid to do that. You're not afraid to
No,
call someone up and say or
no.
ask questions because I think a lot of women are afraid to do that. I think that
Stop being afraid. It doesn't make you stupid. It doesn't make you less than. In fact, it makes you more intelligent that you're seeking answers that you don't have.
I've had women say to me, "Oh, I didn't want to bother you. I know you're
Bother
busy.
me. Bother
Uh,
me.
Call me, text me. Yeah, send me a DM. I don't know. Send a pigeon to my window.
Yeah, let me slow down now. I don't. I'm always willing to help, and I think that most people are. I've
Yeah,
I've
I do too.
never reached out to somebody for help or for an answer and had them say, "I'm too busy for you right now." Never, not one time. And I had a senior broker to me, as somebody who's been in the business for 40 something years, call me a couple weeks ago regarding a deal. And we talked it out. She's like, "I want your opinion on this." And we talked it out. And I said to her during the conversation, I'd go back to the other agent and I'd say, "You didn't disclose these things to me. You wrote me a bad check."
Mm.
And she had an aha moment, right? And so she did do that. And the conversation went well. She wasn't being aggressive to the other agent or anything else, but she said,
Hmm.
that gave me another perspective for when I'm accepting offers for deals. Like,
Mm.
don't write me a bad check, right? Do what you say
Yeah.
you're going to do, but don't go over that and then say, "Oh, and by the way," right? We have to disclose so much in our industry.
And
So
I think experience is the greatest teacher. And so your experiences can help someone else.
no matter how long you've been in your businesses either, right? So mentorship can go both ways. But in order to create that symbiosis with somebody else, you have to get to know them. You've got to put yourself out there. You have to be authentic. You have to be vulnerable. This person knows my life inside and out, right? We
Yes.
don't work in the same brokerage. We're close though. And she would help me any day and I would help her any day. And it's not about money anymore. It's about
What
friends.
what has been the greatest surprise to you in building relationships or connections or finding mentors along the way?
I mean, the greatest surprise is always what you can learn, the doors that open for you and the rooms that you get to step in, just like abundance. You know what I mean? I got to be part of something that I wasn't part of already because of my relationship with somebody else, right? Who invited me into that room, who was also invited into that room.
Yeah.
And it gives you, like, right? So
Yeah.
we're sharing this invitation, like, who else needs to be here because they would benefit from it, and that starts opening doors. And once you start opening doors, and again, like I'm sure you've stayed in touch with some people on that retreat. I've
Yeah.
stayed in touch. We've been invited already to some other things, which is great. These are people I want to learn from.
Totally.
So that's always the biggest surprise, is saying, if you say yes to something new, what do you have to lose? Like, stop thinking about, what do I have to lose? What do you have to gain?
Yeah,
Right?
I mean, I had a conversation with someone. She said she read it in the book. Just she spent an entire year saying yes to everything. Now, I know someone's listening to this going, but Anna, you just told me no is a complete sentence, or we have to manage our time, and I get it. And there's no easy answer for all of this. But what I think this person was sharing with me was that she kind of centered herself in this vibe to be an opportunity magnet. And I've always looked at myself in that way. And I know you and I, we're both Virgos. Our birthdays are a day apart,
A day
people.
apart.
And we believe in energy. And so I'm always calling in that energy. And I always believe that when I say yes to something, there's a purpose for that. And there's an opportunity and there's
An
something that
opportunity can't knock unless you build it a door.
say that again.
Opportunity can't knock unless you build it a door.
Like that. We're going to
I,
coach
I
you.
mean, we can't knock in the air. You can't hear
Right.
it, right? So
I love
you've
it.
got to take those things. And when she said yes to everything, she's saying yes specifically to things that fill her bucket.
I was going to go there. Thank you for saying that
Because
because
you're not saying yes to doing crack cocaine. We're not saying yes to that. We're saying yes to things that are growing us, right? Yes to the extra yoga class. Yes to the Pilates. Yes to dinner with your girlfriends, even when you're tired sometimes, because you
yes.
need that.
Yeah.
Yes to a
I'm
day
really
outside
glad you
pool.
said that because it is about you have to know what your values are. You have to have, I think, some clarity around, even if you don't have it all figured out, just some clarity around the direction you want to move in. And when something shows up that lines up with that, or that could create some other layer of information, and it all seems to be in alignment, say yes,
Alignment.
try it.
Alignment.
It's alignment.
Alignment. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And I've
And I made
received,
that commitment to myself now, as you
yeah,
know. I'm saying yes to things that are in alignment with what I want for my life and my career and my values, and saying no to the things that don't. And even saying no to some things that were, I thought, part of my life. And it doesn't make that bad or good. It's just you have to know when you're ready for something different. And you have to know, where you are at any moment in your life and what your needs are at that moment. And it might show up in the form of a conversation, it might show up in the form of some other opportunity.
And those things change, and that's okay. I
That's
think
right.
we get really down on ourselves when we're like, we're on this path and we're like, this isn't going exactly the way that I thought it should or I wanted it to.
Yeah.
And I need to deviate or stay on this same path and keep pressing something that's maybe not working for me.
Right.
Doesn't feel good, doesn't fit into my life.
Shameless plug.
Oh, you got it.
Yeah, we're still just we're finalizing edits, but yeah, that's what I write about in Getting Back to You. It's, you don't have to blow up your whole life, but you have to figure out where you're off, because when you're living life out of alignment, it's probably the greatest stress.
It makes
I
you
think
sick.
about, right? If you're in a relationship that's no longer working for you, whether it's a
marriage,
a
business
partner,
partnership, whatever.
friendship, right? If you're in a relationship that's no longer working or supporting you, a lot of friction from that misalignment, a career choice, a job, whatever it is. I think that you said it earlier, life is short and we owe it to ourselves to get clear about what's important to us, get clear about our values, and really be unapologetic about that.
We should host a workshop on how to find clarity, because I think that's where
I've always said that's my superpower.
it is your superpower.
Yeah, thank you. I feel like I help people really find that clarity.
The brain is noisy. The world is noisy. Social media makes it noisier.
Yeah.
The calendar makes it, everything is noise. So when you learn how to come back to yourself, whether that's through meditation, whether that's through reading, whether that's through exercising, whether that's through sitting quietly with a friend, whatever it is.
Yeah.
You've got to learn how to come back to yourself, because that's your beacon of light is inside. No one can define that for you. No one else knows what that is. Only you know what that is. But we need to help women shut down everything else in order to find that clarity.
What happens when I write about and Getting Back to You is the noise out here gets so loud, and it starts to quiet that inner voice until that inner voice is a whisper. And
or until it's screaming for help.
Well, then that's what happens. You turn a corner and you start to really become more self-aware about how you're out of alignment. And then your voice suddenly gets louder and louder until it really gets your attention. But nothing changes until then. Nothing changes without that level of awareness. But it's available to you whenever you want. It's there. And that's the thing too. That's why I didn't want to talk about like reinventing yourself so much as it's getting back to who you already are. It's just that sometimes we make adjustments and we live up to other people's expectations, even if it's perceived or real. Sometimes it's not even real. We think there's expectations. It's the story we tell ourselves.
It's the crazy. It's the perfectionist. Generationally, I think we're moving away from this a little bit, but like think about the 1950s housewife. Perfectionist, right? They had to be this perfectionist. And so women are kind of moving away from that. It's like,
yeah,
I didn't have to vacuum my garage. Who cares? I don't have to take my man's shoes off. These things are over. Well, a lot of us put this pressure on ourselves to be perfectionists, and it comes from an old voice or an old way of thinking, or maybe how we were raised. But you don't have to be perfect, and you don't have to have perfection. Progress over perfection wins every time.
Definitely.
Because we're moving in the right direction, at least with progress. We can get really stuck on perfection and never move an inch.
And I think going back to like our experience in Cabo too, there was a moment, I said it to you, there is a moment, I'll share it here transparently with vulnerability, that, because it was a very new group and it was really this amazing cross section of highly successful women, there was this brief moment where I looked at you because I thought to myself, like, do I belong here? Because we all have those moments too, the imposter syndrome moment. And you were like, the hell you don't? Yes, you do. And that was also an opportunity, right? To realize that as we continue to grow and level up, that yes, there's going to be that moment where you say, "Oh, wait, did I earn the right to be here?" Yes, you did. And maybe everyone in the room is achieving different things at different times, but we're all on this path to for progress. And there
Progress.
was no one there that was trying to appear perfect in any way.
I would say that was the most down to earth group I've ever been part of. And at such a highly successful level, it's such a pleasure to see, like not one woman there was I call it braggadocious. I have a hard
Right.
time I don't like it. I'm very much like, oh, I won an award. That's so nice. Like I don't care. It doesn't define me. Right. But what I can give to others is what defines me.
Yes.
That's what makes me feel good. Did I help someone else start a business? Did I help somebody else make money? Did I teach somebody something? Did I help a friend in need at any point? That is what matters to me. It's
Yeah.
not the award, right? I'm like, why the heck wouldn't you be in this room? Like, you're a giver. You give and endlessly give. They all are endless givers. And so am I. And so we were in the right room.
Yeah, I'm going to have a two-part podcast coming out in a couple weeks on abundance and the difference between being an abundant thinker and a scarcity thinker. And, my research has shown me that there are some key attributes of abundant thinkers. And I think that abundant thinkers are always willing to give things away, like knowledge and some time. And of course, yes, you have to balance it out, make sure that you're not depleting yourself in the process. But it's really about knowing that what you have accumulated in life, you can share.
There's
And
enough to go around, Anna.
there's
There's
always enough to
always
go
enough
around.
to go around.
Yes. Why was it so important for you to do this podcast again?
First and foremost, I love talking to you. I'm very lucky. Like, we have this really great relationship and communication style. But when we started talking on the trip about doing a podcast, the trip was really important. Was like,
Yeah.
oh my God, because, I have some new things I want to do and all of this. And it just feels important as, again, a midlife woman to be able to show up in front of other women and other entrepreneurs and say, hey, you can. You can, right? With the right support, with the right guidance, with the right rooms. I just think it's important to share that. I think a lot of times women feel very alone, isolated, trapped, especially when they're mothers,
Yeah.
especially when they have young kids. I have a girl on my team right now. God bless her heart. She is such a sweet, loving, wonderful human. And she's got 3 little humans hanging off her. How do I do this? I'm like, I don't know. I did it. I used to throw them in the car, just drive around, show houses. I don't know. She needs somebody like me who's been exactly where she is to tell her it's okay.
Yeah, because you also, I think, represent some hope, right? That you will live through it.
Not only will you live through it, but you'll be successful.
Yes.
I
Yes.
built my career when I had tiny little kids. I was still cooking dinner and cleaning the house on my hands and knees. I didn't have a cleaning lady. I was still doing all the things, and raising
Definitely.
small children while building a wildly successful career.
Oh, yeah, totally. I mean, listen, I did all the same things. I was actually working full time and running a business with that a lot of people call a side hustle, but it was a really successful big business, raising the kids. And it was like an Olympic sport. And I was going for gold.
You were going,
And
and other women need to hear that. Other people, women need to hear that
yeah.
they can do as much as they want, right?
So what's next for you on that note, right? Because you've raised your family, not that your kids are completely on their own as adults yet, but they're not babies. And that you have proven to be extremely successful in your real estate business. So what's next for Leigh?
So I'm working on becoming a certified coach. My
Saying it out loud, people. I wasn't sure if she would. Excited.
my goal isn't to coach people in real estate. I love real estate. I have a team. I'm always willing to answer questions
And
and
you're looking to continue your real estate business.
I am. That's not going anywhere. But I will be working on coaching women who are women specifically who are going through a season in their life, whether that's divorce or separation, on really how to protect themselves. We
Hmm.
learn through doing or going through something. And I learned a very big lesson during my divorce, many big lessons during my divorce. And so my goal is to really just help women as they start this process to understand what happens, how it happens, what could happen, and be there as a support system when they have questions. And, unfortunately, my divorce was high conflict. It's still high conflict. And
Yeah.
you can't get away from that unless you choose to get away from that.
Yeah. Well,
So
I was going to ask you, obviously you have this experience and that makes sense that you would want to help other women going through something similar. But if I asked you to peel back a layer or two, what's really at the root of this new inspiration for you? And because this is an additional career shift, it's a career shift, not that you're leaving real estate, but it's a big investment again because you're going to learn new things to become a coach. So what's going on below the surface? Like, what's really inspiring that?
for me, there's obviously many different things that can happen during a divorce, but I didn't financially protect myself. And that's devastating. That's devastating. What people don't understand, or a lot of people don't know, is that once you start this process of divorce, it's like a hamster wheel. You can't get off the ride. You can't go backward. You just can't, right? So before you go in, you should have some knowledge and some expectation of how this goes. You need a divorce attorney. It's very, very expensive, especially if you have a high conflict ex, because they will keep you in that court spinning to the tune of six.
Yeah,
You can lose your whole life going through a divorce. Really.
totally.
So for me, it's really about women arming themselves with knowledge.
Leigh, I could talk to you for hours, you know that, but I know that we probably want to wind down today's conversation. So I'm going to ask you
Yeah.
this one last question. For that woman who's listening today, we've talked about a lot of things, but really I think at the root of it is connection and women empowering other women. What is the one thing you want to say to someone who is listening and maybe feeling a little inspired to seek out groups of women or find that next mentor or just even reach out to someone they admire and say, "Hey, could you share something with me about your journey?" What advice or inspiration could you give someone who might be thinking about that?
Do it.
Just do
Just,
it.
just do it. You have nothing to lose. You can stay right where you are if you get a no, or you can get a yes, and your life could change overnight just by putting yourself with or in front of the right people.
Listen, I wouldn't have you as a friend. We've known each other for many years. We've worked together and I was, let's say, a leader in the company, but if we hadn't had that conversation, whatever conversation it was one day where there was this connection, we would have missed out on a great mentorship relationship, a great friendship. So there's so many great things that can come from that.
There really are.
Yeah. Thank you for being on the show again. It's so good to talk to you here.
Love you to pieces. Thanks for having me.
I love you. I love you more. And I love all of you. Thank you for spending time with me every week. And I really wish you a blessed day. And if there's any part of our conversation that you felt was really significant or important, share with someone right now. Right now, before you go on to your next thing, just send it to a friend and tell them that they need to listen to. And that's always a great compliment to us. And definitely share the show because that's how we can reach more people. So I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.